Hello everybody! Today I'm doing a Little Mermaid inspired tutorial for Halloween. I'm just going to start with priming my eyes. I always use the same eye primer, the Primer Potion by Urban Decay and Eden, in my Morphe G32 buffer brush. Just going to spread that on my lid so we have an even application for our eyeshadow. Then I'm going to set that primer with the RCMA No Color Powder, and I'm using my under eye setting brush by Morphe. I do not know some of these brush numbers, so I will link down like all of them below in the description box. I usually use the same brushes almost every single look just because that is what I have right now. So yeah. Then I'm going to take the Morphe M441, and I'm just taking the light taupe shade as my favorite transition color. And I'm just going to dust that in my crease before I use the NYX Brights palette. And I'm going to use kind of this seafoam, dark seafoam green shade. It should be coming up any second. Then I'm just going to layer that over top of the taupe shade just to give it a little bit more of the bluish tinge that we want. Ariel does look like she uses blues and purples and some greens, so I'm just kind of mixing all of them colors together. Well, not really, just the blue and the brown, but yeah, so I'm just kind of dusting it in the crease and then kind of swooping it out, kind of like a winged liner almost, because I am going to be making a cut crease for this look. My two favorite brushes I like to use for cut crease is the Morphe E24 and the Morphe M321. One is the pencil crease, and then the other is just kind of like a tapered crease brush. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip it into this kind of deep blue shade, and I'm going to further define that kind of cut crease swooped liner technique. I'm just going to do the same on the other eye, and then I will take the pencil brush with a darker color. I'm going to dip it into the purples in the same BH Cosmetics palette and further define the cut crease. I do like to go in and blend all of the shades together in between each step so it does blend seamlessly. We don't want any harsh lines because nobody wants any harsh lines. This is supposed to fade perfectly in a nice gradient from light to dark. Here are the purple shades I'm going to use with the pencil crease. And it's okay if you do mess up and it is a little sloppy, because we will go in with some concealer and a flat brush to kind of define the cut crease a little bit more and make it look perfectly cut to slay them bitches. Then I'm going to take the lighter seafoam green shade just to kind of dust it on the top of the crease because I did want to add a little bit more of a pop of color. I do go back in kind of throughout the video and just kind of touch up on my eyeshadow and all the shades because I feel like I do lose some of the pigment as I'm just working on my whole face. So yeah. And then for carving the cut crease, I'm using the same brush and concealer I used to carve out my brows, which is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Concealer in the shade 0.5. And then I'm using the Morphe G32 Flat Definer Brush. You do want a flat brush for this. You want it as flat as possible so that way you can make a nice crisp line. I also wanted to mention that I have been doing voiceovers just because we've had the air conditioner running with it being the last couple hot days of the year. So I didn't really want any of like that background sound to kind of drown out my voice. So these voiceovers are just easier for me, but I will be making a kind of normal talking video soon for you guys. I know you guys have been asking for it. I'm just going to set the concealer with the top 3 shades in the BH Cosmetics palette. That way the concealer isn't moving around when I do apply my eyeshadow. I feel like it does stay a little bit longer throughout the day and it keeps that kind of lighter shade. I'm going to use, I don't know what name this is, just a regular like $1 e.l.f. brush, just kind of like a flat brush. I'm going to spray it with the Smashbox primer water and dip it into the light seafoam green color just to intensify its pigment. I do like to go over the lid a couple times just to intensify the pigment, and I'm going to go off camera soon and do the other eye. Then I'm just taking the M321, I believe, and I just dipped it into a little bit more purple to add more color to it, just so none of it kind of drowns out, if that's the word that you want to say. Next, for the cut crease, I'm using the NYX glitter liner. I can't remember the shade. I will link it down below in the description box. But I'm just basically going right under the dark shade and just kind of following the little cut crease guideline. And this is just going to add a little bit more glam to my look. Now I'm just curling my lashes and I'm going to put one coat of the Better Than Sex mascara by Too Faced just to prime my eyes for my fake lashes. And I'm using the Ardell Natural Lacies. I already did one of my brows. I'm just lining it out and filling it in lightly with my Tarte medium brown brow pomade. And then I'm going to go over it with the red shade in the NYX Brights palette, because I do want that kind of aerial look to myself. I don't have red hair, so I do want to add red like on my brows, and I'm going to do a red lip just to kind of pull the look together. I'm using the Morphe B45 angled brush to achieve the red color to my brows. I just kind of pack that on real good to my brows. And again, the most important step to doing your brows is carving them out. I'm using the Anastasia concealer and the Morphe flat definer brush that I used earlier. And I'm just kind of cleaning up my brows and any little spots that I didn't like. So yeah. And to blend out the concealer on the bottom, I didn't even dampen down my beauty blender yet because I forgot. So I'm just using the dried version of it, and I think it works just as good as a damp, just for this purpose, not for a full face. When I first got my beauty blender, I did use it dry, and then I later learned that you do dampen it down, and it does help blend your foundation much better. I'm using the Hangover RX primer to add a boost of hydration to my face. Since Ariel lives underwater, she has lots of hydration. No, that was stupid. And then I'm going to use the Porefessional primer by Benefit, just kind of on my cheeks, my nose, my chin, and my forehead where I notice that my pores are large. I'm just kind of filling them in. And then I do use a patting motion to kind of pack the primer into my pores rather than rubbing it around my face. Then I'm going to set my primer with the Primer Water by Smashbox. And then for foundation, I'm using the Clinique Beyond Perfecting foundation. I believe it's in the shade Linen. And then I'm going to use the Loreal True Match foundation in the shade Warm Ivory, which is W2. Even though it doesn't really look that warm, I feel like it's almost kind of cool toned on me because the Clinique does come off a little bit darker on my skin. So I like to mix these two, and I do notice that it does make my skin pretty flawless. I really like it. So I'm just blending that out with a damp beauty blender. And yeah. For concealer, I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Concealer that I've been using this entire video. It is very, very full coverage and I'm almost running out, so I'm probably going to restock up on it. It's a little bit thicker than the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer. So if you do like full coverage, I definitely recommend this concealer. It's only $20. And it's pretty damn good. I've noticed that it stays on all day. I do not like to use it as a primer on my lids because it definitely creases on the lids even if I do set it. So I just use it on the rest of my face and use my Urban Decay primer for my eyes. I'm using the RCMA No Color Powder to bake my under eyes. And I do bake a little bit on my forehead too and my chin. And I'm just going to kind of let that sit and bake while I bronze up my face. And yeah, it's pretty messy, so just warning you. I do want to get a different kind of container for it because I do hate what it comes in. And so I'm using the Tartiest palette, contour palette, and I'm using the lightest shade to just bronze up my face with my Morphe M527 brush. And I am struggling with these dangly earrings. So, yeah. Then I'm going to use the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil bronzer in the shade Medium Deep. And I'm using, I forgot what the number is, of course, but I'm using my Morphe contour brush to hollow out my cheeks and kind of blend it in a little bit better with my bronzer. And I'm using it around my hairline and to define my jawline. And then I'm doing a mini contour on my nose. If you guys do recommend any other bronzers, please let me know because I'm always in search of a new bronzer. I do struggle with the shades that I do have. I feel like they are too warm toned. So if anyone knows of any cool tone, please let your girl know. So now I'm using the Lorac pressed powder in the shade Light just to kind of go over where I baked my under eye so it doesn't give me any flashback. And then I'm going back in with the No Color powder to kind of carve out my cheeks a little bit more. And I don't let this sit too long. I do try and wipe it pretty quickly. So, because it does leave flashback, this powder. That's the only thing that I don't like about it. It is pretty cheap. I think it was like 12 bucks. And it comes with a ton and it lasts a long time. For blush, I'm using the BH Cosmetics Bombshell Baked Blush in the shade Sunlight. I think it's Sunlight. Again, I don't know. So I will link it all down below. For a highlighter, I'm using the Makeup Revolution Shimmer Brick, and I'm just using the white shade at the top to put on the tops of my cheekbones, my nose, Cupid's bow, and then I'm going to be using my Morphe M501 brush for my highlighter, and then for like my inner corners and brow bone, I'm using the Morphe E36 detail brush. And I really love this because it is small and gets right in the little details like you want, hence the name. To line my waterline, I'm using my favorite Colourpop liner in the shade Swerve. And I'm just kind of messily just kind of putting it on there to give myself a little bit of a base once I smoke it out. I'm going in with the beautiful purple color in the NYX Brights palette, and I'm just smoking out my lash line right here, and then I realized it was too light. And I didn't really like how it blended, so I do go in with the dark shade, I'm using the Bullet Crease brush by Morphe. And then, yep, I'm using the black color right there. And then I do go in and dust a little bit more purple over that. I'm using my favorite bottom lash mascara, which is the Maybelline Falsies mascara. Because of the curved brush, I do think it is easier to get in on my lower lashes because mine are extremely fine. I did want to do a red lip for this look, so I'm using my Colourpop liner in the shade Bossy and just filling in my lips. For lipstick, I'm using the Maybelline matte lipstick in the shade Siren and Scarlet. And I love how it is like a nice bright red. And then I do clean up around the edges again with my favorite concealer and carving brush that I've already used a couple times in this video. I don't need to tell you guys again. If you do need to be told again, it will be down in the description box. And this is the finished look. Make sure you guys please check out my Instagram and subscribe to my channel and like this video. And I will be seeing you guys again next time. Bye guys.